Today I'm going to be demoing and reviewing 5 of the 6 new shades of Liquid Lurex eyeshadows that Lisa Eldridge has just released. I'm going to do eye swatches, I'm going to do comparisons as well, and just share my thought on this new collection of colors. If you'd like to see all of that, just keep on watching. I started out with the shade Zora, which is described as a rich, deep, sumptuous, cool-toned chocolate bronze with an irresistible blend of smoky silver sparkles. And this is such a beautiful shade. I loved how it was deep and dark and smoky, but not overwhelming. I didn't find it to be too dark. I felt like I would still be comfortable wearing this during the day, blend it out all over the lid. It did a really great job, as most of these shades did, of having a really good blend out, so you could blend it out and really diffuse it out in the crease, and it would show kind of the base color a little bit more and just give that really nice gradual shadow and diffusion to the eye just using the one color, which is really what you want from this type of a kind of one and done type shadow. You want it to be able to have a little bit more impact on the lid, more of that pigment and sparkle and shine on the lid, and then be able to just kind of blend it out and really diffuse it very nicely, which I felt like this one did. I also have this on now. After all of the individual eye swatches, I'll show you how I did this look. And I used this shade as a little bit of a liner as well, which I think worked really nicely. Another way that I would like to use this shade, and I will in the future, is to pair it with another shade on the lid. So doing probably the lighter shade all over the lid and then kind of adding just a little dot of this toward the edge and blending it out to add even more depth and dimension to a look. Next up is Maya, which is described as a vibrant, warm rose, which makes a stunning statement on absolutely everybody. Contains a fireworks on the lid blend of super glittery pearls in hot electric pink and delicious apricot. This, I would say, is kind of the most fun of this new collection, at least of the ones that I got. The shade that I didn't get was Iris, which was that kind of deep purple. I just didn't feel that I would wear this. So of the shades that I got, all of them are kind of more neutral feeling other than this one. I thought this was a great addition. I think this is probably going to be best for like spring and summer makeup because it has that bright vibrancy, that kind of playful quality. It is wearable though, despite being kind of a brighter, more colorful type of shadow. And this was one of the ones that I really wanted to build up. Actually, all of these shades, I think, except for Zora, which is this deep shade, I did a couple of layers because I wanted to build up the shine and the color. Zora, I found already had enough depth that I really only needed one single kind of application of that, but the others, I found 2 layers to be best, and I liked the kind of glittery coral effect that we got from Maya. Next up is Emily, which I think might be my favorite. It's really hard to pick a favorite because these are such stunning shades. I like this collection better than her first collection. The colors just suit me a lot better. I find them to be better kind of neutral colors and therefore more wearable on an everyday basis. And I feel like I'm going to be going to these ones quite a bit more than I've gone to the shades in her first release of these shadows. So Emily is described as a neutral minky taupe shade with a sparkling chandelier of gold, silver, rose pink, and magenta glittery pearls. And I just feel like this is the perfect everyday shade. It's super easy to wear. It's the kind of shade that could go with anything. It's not warm, but it's not too cool either. It's a perfect neutral taupey shade, and it's also not too deep and not too light. So you're getting enough kind of depth and definition, at least on my skin tone with this color, just having this as the only color on the lid. But it's not going to be overwhelming or too smoky looking either. And this is the one in particular that I'm most excited to pair with Zora because these really feel like they're kind of in the same family. Zora is actually described as a cool brown, and I see the coolness in it, but I also feel like this is another one that's just not too cool. It's not warm, it's not too cool. It pulls fairly neutral on the skin, which makes it ultra wearable, just like this one is. Next up is Anais, which is an antique pewter with sage green undertones, shot through with a harmonious blend of silver, pale pink, and gold glittery pearls. Another gorgeous one. And this one, Anais, and the last one that I'm going to show you, both are described as having some green in them. This one is described as having sage green undertones. And I was kind of concerned from looking at the pictures online. I wasn't necessarily seeing a whole lot of that green come through in this shade or in Daphne, the next one. but I'm very happy to report that in person, the green really does come through, and I hope you can see that in the demo as well, that sage green is definitely present. It's not an overwhelming green. It is described as an undertone, and I feel that's accurate, but it's going to be brought out by what you pair it with. So I think especially, for example, with the top that I'm wearing today, which is a sage green itself, it really brought out the sage green undertones in this shade and really kind of enhanced them. So another one that it's not warm, but it's not too cool. It's a great neutral shade, and this is quite a unique shade, actually. I feel like you don't come across pewter tones all that often, and you especially don't come across pewters with this beautiful sage green undertone going on. And then the last new shade I'm showing you today, and the one that's the main color that's on my lids right now, is Daphne, a fresh golden olive green with a shimmering metallic finish. The blend of pink spinel, green, and gold pearls give depth and dimension to this truly special chartreuse shade. And so chartreuse is a kind of greenish yellow shade, and one of my favorite colors, actually. And as I mentioned, I was a little concerned that chartreuse wasn't going to quite come through with this, but it definitely does. And again, I think depending on what you pair it with is going to either enhance that kind of green quality or might mute it down a little bit. But I'm really happy with how this looks on the lid. I think the chartreuse definitely comes through. It doesn't look like a gold with a hint of green. I find it really does look like kind of a soft chartreuse with a bit of a gold presence as well. So those were all the individual shades. And then for this look, I continued on with Daphne all over both lids. And then on my lower lash line, I used Emily, which was kind of that nice neutral tone. It's a little bit warmer than Anais, so I felt like it was going to be the best kind of just neutral soft shade to just add a little bit of shadow and color to the lower lash line without being overpowering. And then, as I mentioned, I went in with Zora with a smaller brush just to do a little bit of a liner. One criticism that I had with a couple of these shades actually was that they were a little bit chunky going on. You could probably see that in some of the demos, that there are some little kind of chunks with some of these. I found for the most part, I was able to just kind of blend them out and soften them out with my brush or by tapping them with my finger. But that was a little bit of a downside. The shade that I especially found that with was Daphne, actually. But I found that after I did my first eye with Daphne, I thought I might try just shaking the bottle, and that actually helped a lot. And when I was doing my second eye with that same shade, the lumpiness was gone. I had one little lump that was really easy to blend out. So I think if you're experiencing that, just give them a shake, or just give them a shake before you use them in general. That seemed to really help take care of that little lumpiness and make them a lot smoother and quicker to blend out. So here are all the new shades swatched. So we have Emily, Anais, Daphne, Zora, and Maya. Now the first comparison I want to do is between Emily and Anais compared to Angelica from the original release. So there's that. And you can also compare it to Maya down there, because there's definitely kind of a pinky quality to Angelica, but you can see it's a lot more muted. And I found Angelica to be the most neutral tone of the first release, but looking at it compared to the neutrals in this new release, you can really see how kind of colorful and distinctive a shade it looks in comparison to these more neutral tones. We can compare Bianca to Anais there because it's kind of one of the more cool tone shades, but again, very different, a lot more kind of purpley heather going on with Bianca. Now here we have Diana compared to Maya, which when I was looking at earlier promo photos of Maya, I thought it might be too similar to Diana, but you can see they're very different. Diana is a real orangey copper, and Maya is much more of a kind of reddish, pinky coral type shade. And then looking at the two golds, again, completely different shades. So this one is Lauren from the original release compared to our most gold shade Daphne in the new release. One is a very orangey gold, one is a much more greeny kind of burnished gold. And then let's finally look at Liza, which is more of a charcoal black. compared to the deepest shade in this new release, Zora. Again, completely different. And there was just one other shadow that I wanted to bring in for comparison. This is the Hindash Boy Tears, and I wanted to compare this to the shade Emily because they're both neutral shades. The Hindash formula is kind of wetter feeling. It feels a lot more oily actually than the Lisa Eldridge formula. And you can see that the Hindash one is a lot more of a warm shade. So it's still a pretty neutral tone, kind of a champagne-y, but it looks very warm, especially compared to Emily there. Even though Emily, I said it doesn't pull too cool, you can see that the Hindash is a lot warmer. The Hindash formula is also different in the sense that it's kind of a thinner formula, which makes it, I find, a little bit better suited to being like a topper type shade, where the Lisa Eldridge ones are kind of thicker. They have almost like a heavier base to them, more base pigment going on. So that makes them better suited for an all over one and done that you can blend out and diffuse out and get that nice shadow in the crease, which I don't find you necessarily get with the Hindash one, which I find is, as I said, better suited as more of a topper type shade. I had a question about how these Liquid Lurex shadows work with other shadows, like pairing them with powders and so on. And I find they work really nicely. I wouldn't necessarily want to put these on top of a fully done eyeshadow look, at least not to blend them out. Maybe as just a really quick diffusion, you could do that. But I think that the best way, if you wanted to pair these with powder shadows, would be to just have something in the crease, basically like a blended out transition shade in the crease. And if you wanted to add a little bit more depth, to add a deeper kind of smoky shade with your powders, and then go over with this all over the lid, and you can still have the ability, even over top of the powders, to just kind of lightly diffuse and blend the liquid out on top of that. So I think that's it for this video for my first impressions of these new shades. I love this new collection. I prefer it to the previous collection. I just find these shades, as I said, to be more wearable. They're more suited to me and my everyday kind of taste. I think she's done a really good job of offering a number of neutrals that have enough differences among them to make each one a distinct shade with its own unique qualities. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions or comments below. I always love to see those. If you'd like to see more from me and you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I would love for you to do so. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in my next video.